Hello and welcome to the Green Transition Show. I'm your host, Dr. Francis Tuokun. Climate change is no longer just an environmental problem, it is an economic one. Meeting global climate goals will require trillions of dollars in investment over the coming decades. But what exactly is green and climate finance? Where does the money come from? And how can developing countries and businesses access it? In this episode of the Green Transition Show, we speak with an experienced practitioner to demystify green and climate finance, explore opportunities and challenges, and discuss how finance can accelerate the transition to a sustainable future. If you are new to the channel, kindly hit the subscribe button on YouTube. This will motivate us to continue to bring you such insightful conversations. My guest is Donatus Kunzume, a legal practitioner and a green climate finance expert based in Accra, Ghana. Welcome to the show, Counsel.
Thank you, Dr. Francis Tokun, and I'm happy to be here. Good day to you and good day to all your listeners from across the globe.
Please introduce yourself to our cherished listeners and audience and tell us about your journey into green and climate finance.
Once again, Doc, thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Donatus Kunzume. I'm a lawyer by profession, a multidisciplinary professional, a lawyer by profession, a chartered banker, and a sustainable finance professional. I currently work with one of the universal banks in Ghana as a sustainable finance products manager, leading conversation in product development and green economy financing initiatives. My journey, I think my journey to sustainability has been an interesting one. As I've already indicated, I'm a through and through banker. After my graduation from the University of Ghana in 2006 with a degree in economics, I did a bit of research with civil society organizations, Third World Network, and some part-time job with ISA in the areas of economic justice, working with trade unions, on trade liberalization issues and the impact that has on developing countries such as Ghana. Fast forward from there, I moved into full-time banking, spanning across risk management, investor relations, and I spent a bigger chunk of my career in treasury, rising to the position of country head of treasury for Bport Savings and Loans. After a period of reflection, decided that I needed to broaden my scope, and that took me into the field of law. Eventually was called to the bar, so I'm a member of the Ghana Bar Association and also the Ghana Law Society. So throughout these things, one key thing stood out that development is a multidimensional factor, and the environment is the foundation of all development. And climate change, as you rightly introduced, is a growing concern across industries. But my view is that climate change is more of a financing issue. The successful implementation of climate change matters is a financing issue. And with my experience in banking, finance, investor relation, the natural transition is to be able to catalyze all these variety of experiences into designing financial products that actually help in demystifying and tackling some of the challenges associated with financing environmental challenges. So that has been my journey from banking, law, and into sustainability. So currently I sit as in the intersection of sustainable finance, banking, and law. And the combination of these areas has put me in a stronger position to be able to advise my institutions in how we can best use financing as a tool for mitigation and dealing with some of the environmental challenges that we face as a world.
You have an interesting background, and we are so privileged to have you on the show. Uh, If you are new to the channel, this is the Green Transition Show. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Kindly hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and on LinkedIn. This will motivate us to continue to bring you insightful conversations. Council, um, many people hear the terms green finance and climate finance, and sometimes these terms are used interchangeably. Could you explain the difference between them in very simple terms?
Absolutely, certainly. So, yes. So, when you hear about the term green finance and climate finance, there's that tendency to think that they are synonymous. Um, the concept of green finance and climate finance can be viewed from the basic mathematical approach where we learned about universal sets and then subsets. So, using that relationship or analogy, we will say green finance is like the umbrella term or the universal set. And then climate finance is a subset of green finance. So when we talk about green finance, we are generally looking at financing initiatives that help to either manage the adverse environmental impact or manage the environmental consequences of our activities, generally human activities. That is the broad ambit of green finance. On the other hand, when we talk about climate finance, we are looking at financing activities that mitigate the impact of that mitigate emissions or the destruction of the environment or the pollution of the environment by an element that we call greenhouse gases. And we're also looking at how we can adapt to adverse climatic conditions. So mitigation activity can be like installation of solar energy or solar farms as opposed to the use of fossil fuel power. You can also talk about the adoption of clean transportation or e-mobility, green mobility initiatives. On the other hand, adaptation or to adapt is to be able to coexist or manage the environmental impact that are already in existence. It is to build resilience. So we are looking at things. So what that means is that already there is already a negative environmental consequences that we have to contend with. And we have to now develop coping strategies to be able to deal with those environmental consequences. So that is adaptation. It's coming from the way to adapt. So we're basically looking at, for instance, if you take the field of agriculture, what can you do if you are in a drought prone area, as a section of Ghana is like? So you are looking at adoption of drought resistant seeds, the use of drip irrigation, and the like. So, in summary, green finance is an umbrella term within the field of sustainable finance that deals with managing the entire environment. And climate finance is of two ambits. We talk about adaptation and then the mitigation. All seek to ensure that we are coexisting with the environment that we have created for ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, why has either green finance or climate finance, become such a global priority?
So, yeah, this is a very good question, interesting question. The issue about green finance, climate finance has caught the headlines, have caught the attention of global leaders at various forums like the COPs and other discussion on sustainable development generally. And this attention is for no mean reason. It is for the fact that the very survival of the human race is heavily linked to green financing opportunities. We have brought our environment to a certain stage that we need to take proactive steps to actually ensure that our environment is will be able to continue to sustain us as a human race. So the attention given to it is from a number of perspectives. It is from a business perspective, political perspective, and from regulated financial institution and other organization. It is both for a risk management and regulatory perspective. Why am I saying that? If we take, let's take the regulated financial environment, for instance. The issue about green financing has come to the fore because it is a key risk factor in business decision for banks. The basic business of bank is to give out loans and collect deposits. And usually in your lending business, you will need some form of collateralization to be able to protect the interest of your depositors or your funders. The factors of green finance or adverse climatic impact has a tendency to affect the asset quality of item that you have taken as collateral. And because of that, banks see green finance as both a risk factor, but at the same time as a business opportunity. The business opportunity comes from the fact that we are able to develop products to take advantage of the challenges that have been created by the adverse environmental consequences. So it is in view of this that global leaders, philanthropic organizations are setting up funds, uh, making building systems to ensure that there are adequate buffers to support the green transition. As to whether that has been very effective in terms of making that funding available to third world countries like developing countries, it is something that we can have as a part of the conversation. But green finance has caught global attention because of the multifaceted impact that it has, the opportunity that it has to provide the anchor for managing the adverse environmental consequences that are associated with our human activities.
Having explained to us what green finance is, what climate finance is, and the importance of both green and climate finance, it will also be crucial for you to share with us the sources of green or climate finance that are available today.
Right. When we talk about the source of green or climate finance, it is not some academic concepts. First of all, financing green starts from us. So let's take the typical household, for instance. Um, if you plant a tree, you are helping in greening the environment. So that is at the basic micro level. You may have to spend money to plant the tree to keep your environment green. So the starting point for green financing from my perspective is the individual, the household, as an economic unit, as we learn in the basic unit in economic. The household is the foundation of economic production. I transfer that concept to say the household is the foundation for green financing. Having said that, on the macro scale or global scale, there are institutions that are taking steps to provide green financing opportunities. It starts with from the household level, we move to the businesses, where we have philanthropic organizations or where businesses are earmarking a portion of their profit to support green initiatives, green financing. Then from the business level, we talk about national governments. Governments setting up specialized funds, taking specialized initiative, providing risk management instrument to support businesses that are into the green financing ecosystem. For instance, banks will need some form of de-risking to be able to finance green projects because the risk associated with green projects is not the traditional risk that we know. And therefore, they need some form of government intervention. So, from the national perspective, you are looking at the individual, that's the household, you are looking at the firms or the businesses, you are also looking at government. Now, going beyond that, we also look at multinational organization, multinational development bank, multilateral development banks. We also look at commercial banks. We look at philanthropic organization, pension funds, equity funds. All these are viable entities that provide financing opportunities for green financing. Perhaps the missing link or where work needs to be done is actually whether those kinds of financing are of the right characteristics that actually support the financing of projects, green project, in terms of concessionality of those financing, the flexibility of those financing, and whether those financing even have inbuilt moratorium that takes into account the peculiarity of certain green projects. So
Develop,
green
yeah.
financing actually starts from you and I,
Mhm.
extend to the firm, further to the government, and goes beyond the government to multilateral collaborations in mobilizing financing for green projects.
Yeah, developing countries often argue that they receive far less uh, green or climate finance than they need. I quite remember during the conference of the parties, the UN conference of the parties, COP26 in Glasgow, as far back as 2000 and 2021, the developed countries promised that they were going to make financing available to developing countries, and that they were going to do so, I think, the following year, and that they were going to provide $100 billion every year to support developing countries to combat climate change. But they have often failed to do that. They haven't been able to do that. And so, what are the barriers? What are the barriers um, that is preventing developing countries from accessing these kind of funding?
So the barriers are viewed from both the side of the recipient of the funds and the side of the provider of the fund. So from the side of the recipient of the fund, so developing countries, as you rightly put it, the argument has always been that the processes of accessing the fund are so onerous, a lot of requirements, which most of the times developing countries find difficulties in putting together the right packaging or project pipeline to be able to access them. So that is from the developing countries' perspective. There are also the political economy debate about whether really there is real commitment on the part of developed countries to actually put money on the table as a way of compensating the argument that developing countries should slow down the pace of environmental depletion in turn receive compensation from developed countries. So that is from the point of view of developing countries, as I understand it. From the perspective of developed countries, the argument has always been that, well, we have the money sitting in a specialized fund. We are happy to sign it off for developing countries, but they are not able to show us the projects. What are the bankable projects that are available for us to release the fund? And funding globally is beginning to dry up. Grants, other concessional funding is beginning to dry up. So the funds that are available have certain governance or preparatory works that project development needs to have in place before they'll be able to access that. Most of the fund manager always say that, well, it is we have the fund available, but we don't have the project that are available for us to fund. There's also the issue about the perceived risks of these investments, that the money is not for free. There will usually be some form of grants, maybe returnable grants or grants.
We lost our guest. This is the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tokun. If you are watching us for the first time, kindly hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on TikTok, LinkedIn, and on Facebook. This will motivate us to continue to bring you insightful conversations. If your organization is working on sustainability, ESG, environmental compliance, climate finance, or the green transition and you need technical support, training, or strategic advice, we would be happy to help you. You can contact us using the details on our YouTube channel. Our guest, I'm sure, has technical issues or internet challenges. Uh, he'll join us in a bit, I believe. Um, just one moment to reach out to our guest to find out what the problem is. If you are watching us again, this is the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tuokun. We're discussing green and climate finance from a practitioner's perspective. My guest is Donatus Kunzume, a legal practitioner and a green and climate finance expert based in Accra, Ghana. We lost Donatus, and I believe he'll be joining us in a moment. In the meantime, if you have questions, comments, feedback, kindly send them to us. We'll be happy to address them as we go on the program. Also comment, share, and like our videos. This will motivate us to continue to bring you such insightful conversations. And we hope that you'll be able to join us every week to have such conversations. We are sorry about the technical challenge. I believe our guests will rejoin us soon. That is one of the problems with technology. Our guest has indicated that he has technical challenges and he'll be joining us shortly. In the meantime, kindly share, comment, and like our videos. You can also send us your questions, and I believe we'll address them as we go on the program. We are sorry about the technical hitch. We'll soon continue with the program. This is the Green Transition Show. If you are joining us for the first time, this is the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tuokun. We are discussing green and climate finance from a practitioner's perspective. My guest is Donatus Kunzume, a legal practitioner and a green and climate finance expert based in Ghana. We lost him due to a technical hitch, but he has indicated to me that he'll be joining us shortly. We are discussing green and climate finance from a practitioner's perspective. Some of the things we discussed included the difference between climate finance and green finance. Our guest also gave us details about the different sources of funding to the different sources of funding for green and climate finance. He also indicated that there are different ways one could access green finance from the private sector, the public sector, and also from multinational institutions, including the World Bank. For instance, adaptation fund within the World Bank, you could access green funding from there. We have Global Green Growth Institute. That's an example of an institution where one could also access green or climate financing from. We also have Green Climate Fund. Green Climate Fund is an agency within the United Nations where developing countries could also access green or climate financing from. Before we experienced the technical hitch, he was trying to explain to us the barriers of assessing green and climate financing. I asked why it is very difficult for developing countries to assess climate financing or green financing. And he attempted to explain that, and unfortunately, he had a hitch. He's still trying to join us. In the meantime, kindly comment on the video, post your questions, your feedback on the link. Then we'll try to answer your questions. I see he's trying to rejoin. We are truly sorry about that. Just one moment. See, he's trying to rejoin. Please bear with us. We are really sorry about that. Right. Uh, Viewers, we'll try and reconnect. I'll stop the live streaming, then we'll try and reconnect. Sorry about that.